What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We have a ton to cover, and a ton has happened over the weekend. We're going to, of course, talk about what is going on in the other parts of the world and what is happening right here over my head. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight, we are on a little bit late. We had lots of issues going live. That is actually our fault. We are redoing all of our cords and things, and I was trying to do cable management and all that. And also, it was having issues with Restream. So, again, a lot of people, it is very late, especially for Dex. Dex is on the East Coast, so now it is after midnight. So we will be early for the East Coast if some of you watch early morning like we used to go. We used to go live at this time all the time. So my name is Adam, and then, of course, today we'll be going over all of what has happened over the last 3 days. So we will be having a couple pieces here that are older that I think that are very important for those of you that only go through us for your news. There are some pretty important pieces here that happened over the weekend. So before we get started, I do want to remind you everything here, if we show you a picture, a tweet, a video, an article, a document, it's all going to be over on our website. Now, when you go over to our website, you'll see it's very easily navigatable. You can go, of course, by thumbnail. You will look for today's thumbnail, and then you'll click that. They just said what? And then once you do, you will see there's a full bibliography of all of our sources. Everything that is said here and brought in will be over there on the website. So again, over down below, if once you hit a yellow bar, remember that there is web-only content. That is more than just extras. That is an entire other show, because the yellow bar means that essentially this is the stuff that's too hot for TV, too far to one direction, or the stuff that is basically so biased that we can't cover while staying neutral. So it's been a few days since we were on. If you didn't know, Friday, we had our 8-week-old kitten break its growth plate. So we had to end up going into the emergency vet and spending about 9 hours. And then by 8 a.m. on Saturday, they had basically fixed Evie up. We actually basically prepared our kids to put it down. This was a kitten that Maui, our cat, had. And basically, we were prepared to put it to sleep. And of course, nobody wanted to. This was a cow we were going to give away, but everyone fell in love with it. So it was even harder. And then we were like, we're not giving it away. And then this happened. So luckily it was, they said that it's growing so fast and that it was healing so fast that even within a few hours, they saw, basically that it was healing, that they didn't need to do a splint. I guess the growth plate is a really hard place on a kitten to do anything about. And they said a splint would do more damage than good. So anyways, Evie is back, and we've got medication for her, and she's trying to run without using her back leg. So either way, thank you guys for those of you that knew and had concern. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. But either way, we have Friday and Saturday, Sunday ton of stuff is happening. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on today, and how are you doing?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
And please let us know if any of the sound or anything could be changed or, more positive. Everything was kind of redone. So just please let us know. NASA haloported a doctor into International Space Station. It says it's an hologram and teleportation, and although it may seem like it isn't just a niche sci-fi term buried somewhere in Isaac Asimov novels and Star Trek episodes. In October, NASA used this mind-boggling futuristic mechanism to bring NASA flight surgeon Dr. Joseph Schmidt onto the International Space Station while he was safely planted on our planet. No rockets necessary. Schmid was joined by this trans-dimensional journey by Fernando de la Pena Lalaca, CEO of Alexa Aerospace, and the organization that helped develop the haloportation equipment, and a few other team members. It is a brand new way of human exploration where our human entity is able to travel off of planet. Schmidt said in a statement, "Our physical body is not there, but our human entity absolutely is there." Though nearly unbelievable, the haloportation isn't totally new technology. Microsoft came up with the idea several years ago, but with primary intention of revolutionizing sectors like advertising, terrestrial hospital care, and education, and has since been steadily developing the concept. But NASA's recent endeavor took the feat to the next level. This is the first time such virtual transportation has successfully brought people beyond planet Earth. Here's how everything went down. It says basically high-quality 3D models of the haloporters were developed, digitally compressed, transmitted, and reconstructed in the spaceborne lab, all in real time. It says, meanwhile, a mixed reality display aboard the ISS, namely Microsoft HoloLens, allowed both the haloporters and the astronauts to see, hear, and interact with another as though they were in the same physical space. So I'm going to show you some pictures of this. This is why this is really crazy. So if you don't know, there's actually goggles. There's actually these glasses. They look like sunglasses. They are called Nreal, and they are one of the first kind of, I guess, what would you say, the consumer available AR glasses. Now, AR is augmented reality. VR is when you fully go and you're immersed in this world, which if you haven't tried has just went leaps and bounds. It's incredible. It's crazy. But AR is where you see through, and it's planting images on a lens in front of your eyes that makes it look like it is there. So you see, if you're looking in a room, it could make someone sitting on your couch, and it will, of course, look a little bit translucent, but it looks like there's somebody sitting on your couch. In fact, on your end, it may even look like there's somebody actually on your couch. Now, it's not to the point where it is so believable that you think they're there, but it is getting to the point where you can literally, be immersed and feel like you have things in the room with you. So that is what is happening here, and for them to do it on both ends is actually pretty nuts. So this is something you saw with, I want to say they did this on a grand scale at different concerts and things. I thought they did it like they had Tupac or something come out on stage one time. But this is where everything is going. And this is not like, this is the future. This is here, and they're going to slowly, step by step, over month by month, this is going to get to the point where everyone is going to start doing it. And this isn't one of those things where it's like, this is a fad and it will fall back out. They are putting serious amounts of billions of dollars into this, and they're making it available. Basically, the prices on these things are going to go cheaper and cheaper. It may even be why we are investing, the real reason why we're investing in semiconductor chips here as well in the U.S. and producing them, on top of many other reasons like conflict with China. But also it might be because this AR thing is coming. Now, AR is going to open the door for people to make money. And for the big corporations in specific, imagine walking down the street and there are digital demonstrations of advertisements popping out. So you're walking down the sidewalk and a business has paid to put advertisements on different places. This is where the metaverse comes back into play. This is what we were talking about. And this is important because if the world does survive WW3, we are going to be in an entirely different world. these glasses are going to get cheaper and cheaper, and then there's going to be things that you can only do if you have them. And that's how they get people kind of into it, is everybody will be doing it, and then you'll be left out, and then all of a sudden you'll need to get them. There will be, of course, all sectors going into this. Just imagine in your house going into a Costco and being able to shop, pick out a digital item, and right when you grab that digital item, because say there's another demic, right? You grab an orange and you say, okay, I like this one. All of a sudden, the Costco has now added that to your cart, and it's being delivered to your house within an hour. So in the same time it would take you to drive back from that place, they will have it delivered to your house. And you are seeing a virtual store in your house, and you'll be able to grab products. This is what they're already working on. So it is actually quite terrifying, because what comes with this is the infrastructure for it will be tracking and doing pretty much everything evil and nasty you can think of. These companies want to get inside your brain. They want you to put on their advertisements 24/7. They are not just happy with a scroller on a page that you might scroll by. They want it in front of your face. They want it to be digital. They want it to be popped out. Dex, now... do you agree or do you disagree on that?
Oh, I totally agree. It's a marketer's dream, but when we think about where we've seen social and everything else go over in, say, the Dragon Country, right? Just imagine, go a step beyond the cool wow factor, the marketing wow factor, and just layer in the ability for them to show you things based on your credit score, right? In other words, well, you're not good enough, so you can't see this. Or you go in the store and you want to buy milk, and your price, Adam, might be $4 a gallon, but I've been a bad boy, so maybe I have to pay $8 a gallon, right?
Yeah.
So there's and all of that would be digitally transformed in real time as you're looking at it, because it's really not there. It's only there by looking through these glasses, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And pretty freaky stuff there as far as all of the different things that they could do with this. Now, I want to thank Chewy Weather over on DLive, Vicky K. I appreciate that. Sugar Punch 13. Appreciate you as well. Blake Lee, what's going on? Ariyatas, Arvon Mustafa. Consider the Bruce Willis movie. Oh, I didn't get to see that fast enough. On a mission for truth. All Rider, what's going on? That Gen X dude is here. You matter to God. Wow, that's crazy. VW Blue Sky, what's going on? Thumbs up to you as well. Life is better on stilts. And thank you for those of you that did actually press the thumbs up. Thank you for all of the folks that pressed the like button. It does help, and we are trying to work here, and it does help us move forward. Rip Curl Readiness, The Wise Ninja, Lisa R. Hall, Bug Nana, Kim R., and Ann Runningwoods. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I believe we have a few mods in here. I know Jay Stone's in the house. Thank you, everybody else that has popped in. If Bones or Rip Curl, I saw Rip Curl is here, and anyone else that has popped in so far. And then let's see here. Twisted Luck Truth. What is going on? How are you doing? And we'll get moved on. All right. And then we have Twitter board adopts poison pill after Musk's $43 billion bid to buy company. So they did the opposite of what most people wanted them to do, or at least most people that wanted to sell their stock. They did a poison pill option. Dex, do you want to explain this? Essentially, they are going to possibly dilute their shares and screw people instead of help people, just to keep a hostile takeover from happening.
Exactly. So, and interestingly enough, we actually called this and said this was one of the options that would probably and likely happen before it happened. But what's happening here is that if any investor without the approval of the board gains 15% or more of the public stock, then they instantly allow the rest of the investors, employees, anybody to buy the equivalent number of shares at like a 50% discount. And they do that to then dilute that person. So if the person reaches 15 or 20%, they're going to dilute them back down to 15, 20, 10%, some lower number by doing that. So it basically prevents a hostile takeover, but it hurts the company because you dilute the stock over time. It also means, though, that they didn't necessarily say no to Elon. That's a lot of people were saying, oh, well, they came out with this And this is their no to him. No, they actually have the right, and they said they have the right to continue looking at the offers. And the keyword there was offers. In other words, they were looking for others too. So I think that they're looking to see if anybody else is going to pony up, and they're trying to give themselves some time so they didn't have to instantly react to Elon's offer. So we'll have to see how this plays out. You know, the market today was a little interesting. The stock did go up during the day, and but there is no definitive answer yet as to what's going to happen.
Greg Martin says there is 2 offers. So I don't know, is that 2 from Elon, like he made a second offer?
No, there's probably other people that are saying that they're trying to get offers together. And here's the thing, anybody can put an offer together. The next step is, can they actually fund it, right? And that's part of what they were looking at from Elon's point of view is, where's he going to come up with the $40 billion or whatever, the $43 billion? Yeah, he has money, but does he actually have a bank willing to lend him that against the shares he owns? Was he going to execute and sell a whole bunch of his own shares to come up with that money? Like, what was his financial plan to actually pay for it, right? So that was the secondary part, and he has to answer that at some point. He has, because he back in the day, he said he was going to take Tesla private at $420 a share. Again, the 420, right? But he never really had the financing to do it. He said he did, but it didn't really pan out, and that didn't happen. So I guess part of this is on their part is to look not just at an offer, but to validate that the offer actually has funding. And that's not just Elon, that's anyone else that's coming in trying to say, hey, we'll pony up, $2 more than Elon or $20 more than Elon or whatever, right? So they have to actually make sure they got the cash.
Well, it sounds like it's not over yet. And then we have ex-CEO Dorsey criticizes Twitter board. Musk says it owns almost no shares. Former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey criticized the company's board in a series of tweets on Sunday, as the group is now tasked with evaluating a takeover bid from billionaire Elon Musk. Responding to another Twitter user describing the plots and coups that played out early on the history of Twitter's board, Dorsey replied, "It's consistently been the dysfunction of the company." Earlier, he responded to another tweet in the same thread and quoted venture capitalist Fred Destin, citing what he called Silicon Valley proverb. Good boards don't create good companies, but bad board will kill a company every time. Dorsey responded, says, "Big facts." So as far as what do you think Dorsey wants? Dorsey probably doesn't want to sell it to Elon. I'm sure he's
out. I mean, he's literally out. Like, they not only they oust him as CEO, he said he was leaving his board seat in May. Their annual meeting is May 25th. And so that's when his term on the board expires. And I don't think he was looking to re-up it. So I think he's literally out, with the exception of being a stockholder or a shareholder where he's got value tied up in the company.
Yeah, but do you think he said, hey, we should have sold it when he was offering that much money and we can just all get out of it? Or do you think that I
think he's got bad blood with that current board. The current chairman of the board is from Salesforce. It's the co-CEO of Salesforce. And that guy, they had made a bid to buy Twitter back in the day. And that bid never panned out. But whatever panned out of it was he ended up with the chairman of the board seat, right? So I think, and I don't know the history of Dorsey with the board, but I'm pretty sure there is a long history, and even it was mentioned briefly in this article, of challenges he's had being a founder and being an owner and being CEO on and off throughout his time dealing with the board, the Twitter board. So I think it's probably been something he's not been real happy with. So not just those people now, but even the people that were in those positions years ago.
Well, because he's agreeing. He says good boards don't create good companies, and right now people are mad at the board because they could have just made a whole lot of money as far as anybody who's holding that share, obviously getting more for it than what was worth. Yeah, but again,
they still can.
But what happens if it goes up by the time they accept the offer? So it's at $70. Does he have to pay $70?
No, he doesn't. But everybody who's a shareholder would be making more money, so they should be happier, right? They're not in a position to be mad at the board if the stock goes above 54.20, right? Because that means the board was right. They think that their stock was going to go higher. That's the decision they have to make. If they don't think they can reach 54.20 in stock value, in any of the foreseeable future, then it's a good idea to sell because somebody's willing to give it to you. But if you think you can reach $65 a share in the next 3 or 4 months, then you would say no. And if you hit that in the next 3 or 4 months, then guess what? Anybody that was mad at you is no longer mad at you. Anybody that's suing you is no longer has a case.
Well, that is very unfortunate. And then we have a huge explosion on sun unleashes major solar flare on Easter. So we're probably going to have wages back in the next couple days because there have been flare after flare after flare. And then, of course, an X-class flare happened, I believe, over the weekend. And just massive sun activity. It says the Easter solar flare peaked late Saturday, April 16th at about 11:34 p.m. Eastern, and it says, and was followed minutes later by a massive sun eruption known as a coronal mass ejection, according to the U.S. Space Weather Prediction Center, and it says, which is overseen by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. The flare registered as an X1.1 class sun storm. X-class storms are the most powerful ones on the sun and lasted about 34 minutes. The flare originated from regions 2994 and 2993, a cluster of active sunspots that have seen significant flaring since it appeared on the eastern limb of the sun, according to the SWPC. It says solar activity is expected to be active over the next week as these sunspots migrate across the visible disk. So another thing is when this comes back around, we've already gone way past what was forecasted for sun activity, and it is absolutely going nuts. So for those of you that may believe that the sun will have, the ultimate kind of last revenge on Earth, as far as the end is actually going to be related to the sun, there's a lot of craziness going on right now exactly with that. So it's not, the whole point of this is not to freak people out, but at the same time, people need to know that this is happening. And most people do not pay any attention to solar weather. In fact, they only pay attention to it if there is something that actually affects them, or if their internet's not working and they go and look up why and they think, oh, well, there is some sort of solar thing on the news here, but that's pretty much it. No one actually thinks it's going to, destroy or interrupt their life. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, and Adam, we've had wages on numerous times, especially over the last 2 weeks. And we've done that intentionally because there has been activity, not just activity pointed at Earth, which is the most important part. But the thing you guys all need to remember is he showed us numerous of these massively huge flares that were on the backside of the sun. And even over the weekend, he sent me more of them and said, look at what's happening. And all of these flares that were on the backside are coming from these sunspots, and these sunspots are rotating back around. And if ever there was a moment of forecasting the unknown, this is sort of it, in the sense that these flares or these sunspots are moving back around in line with Earth over the next week. So we basically have a time period coming up where all of that massive backside of the sun stuff we were showing everybody is about to be pointed directly at us. And if it keeps doing what it's done for the last 2 weeks on the backside, now around on the front side, we could really be in for one heck of a show, if not maybe even something significantly large.
So, again, most people need to be paying attention to it. It is why we've had a long-term partnership with EMP Shield. If you want to protect yourself against any kind of solar activity, or protect more so your cars, your engines, your motors, of course, your house, your devices, instead of putting your entire house in a Faraday cage, obviously that's not going to work. You can go over and get an EMP Shield. EMP Shield is the same company that has worked with agencies like DOD, DHS, and of course now on the DEMSO team, officially helping the Texas grid. So if you want to get the same protection that they're quietly doing for themselves, and I mean the governments, then you can also go to EMP Shield. Now this is a small company. Again, when we started working, before all of these huge contracts came in, they were hand making them in Kansas in a tiny little building. Now, after these contracts came in, now they have expanded. They're still making them by hand. It's still veteran owned. It's still 100% American made and privately owned by, again, a group of actual preppers and people in our community. So this is an amazing, amazing product. This will save lives if any of these things happen on a level that we have never seen before. And everything says that we will. As far as the solar side of, there's of course NK, and everybody talks about it as super EMP. That is one of the highest things up on the government's kind of list of things that could happen. But that is nowhere near the probability of a major X-class solar flare / CME. That will happen. And if we are not prepared enough, so if they haven't worked enough with DHS and DOD and DEMSO and really put these everywhere, then we have no idea what's really going to happen. The last time it happened, it was a Carrington-level event, and that was in the late 1800s, and we didn't have the same kind of thing here. They say it happens on average 150 years. It's been 160, so we're technically overdue. And now we are in solar cycle 25, which is also predicted to be one of the craziest solar cycles out there. So if you do want to get your cars protected at the very least, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device. Now, make sure to go over and check other things that you may be able to protect, like your boats, your RVs, of course, your motorcycles. Even your ham radio can be protected by one of these. So again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Everyone that you purchase, not only do you get a discount and you get something physically out of it that may save your life, but you're also going to be helping your favorite channel for sending you their way. And if you go through us, then that helps us with a small commission, and that helps us pay our bills. So thank you so much. Again, we don't ask anybody to donate. We just thank the people that do, because, again, we are controversial. So a lot of our stuff does not fit under the normal category. In fact, right now, I was just going to ask Dex, are we even on the page on DLive? It doesn't look like we are. We've had...
I think we are. Let me double check.
Yeah. I couldn't see it. I looked up the name and it was there, but again, it looks like it's nowhere on the main pages, but maybe that's just from mine. Either way, thank you to the DLive fam. I love you guys, and thank you for keeping DLive alive. And then we have scientists find world's first cure for heart attacks using the same mRNA technology as the... As far as the gibbers that you get now, you can get the same one and cure heart attacks. So basically, if you don't fall under one category, you can go, hey, well, I have that. I'll take it for that. Genetic tracking used to create... I love how if somebody accidentally left that word out, what if they accidentally just forgot the V word here? Genetic tracking used to create V's is now being adapted to help regenerate hearts damaged from cardiac arrests. Scientists at King's College London have tracked genetic codes called mRNAs, which produce proteins to generate healthy heart cells. This groundbreaking research could lead to the first cure for heart attack victims. It says similar technology was used to create the and the modern V's, right? So kind of, I'm sure that's going to start a whole flurry of theories there. So, yeah. And then we have, of course, Xi holds military drills around Taiwan as U.S. delegation visits. This is literally history repeating itself, and in previous instances, those drills turned into real things. It says that Xi said, and when I say Xi, I mean this country, said it conducted military drills around Taiwan on Friday as a U.S. congressional delegation visited the island in a move the People's Army said is intended to target the Wong signals sent by the United States. It says that Xi's military sent frigates, bombers, and fighter planes to the east and the area around Taiwan on Friday. The PLA's Eastern Theater Command spokesman Xi Yailu said, according to the Xi's state broadcaster. It says that this operation is in response to the recent frequent release of wrong signals by the United States on the Taiwan issue. So, now let me ask you this, and I just thought of something too. You remember in WW2 when weren't we in peace talks, or somebody was in Japan when all of that stuff went down? Do you remember? Is that something that's a real thing, as far as like one of our delegation or somebody was in Japan, speaking to Japan, or they were doing? I know they were in peace talks when they hit, of course, Pearl Harbor. But is that even a thing? I feel like there was some other thing that happened when we had somebody visiting. It says the U.S. bad actions and tricks are completely futile and very dangerous. Those who play with fire will burn themselves. So they always have to have like some sort of saying that is like super hardcore Chinese threat type thing. And it says during a Friday meeting with Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen, U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said that the technology hub is the country of global significance and its security has implications for the world. Others have said in recent pieces, big writers now have put out a bunch of big pieces over the last couple of days, basically saying that Taiwan is not, UKR. This is completely different, and they believe that the U.S. would jump in, and this would be the start of WW3, even if they tried to take over 10 feet of it. So that's what think tanks are saying. It looks like Xi is going to take it. I mean, I don't think that they're going to back down anymore. And now that they have the largest Navy and, of course, possibly even the largest Air Force, we don't know, they're mass-producing ships at rates we've never seen before. And then, of course, our Congress has said that they are the biggest threat now. And, of course, now it's all setting up in the public eye that they are basically saying, getting the public's support and saying that Xi is helping, bad man Vlad, or bad Vlad over there, and that there should be actions taken towards them. So it seems like a bad B movie, and we know where this is going. So, and then it says the United States has no formal relations with Taiwan, but its most important international backer and arms supplier. So we have no formal relations, but yet we sell them most of their weapons and defensive stuff. It says Menendez acknowledged that the government was very unhappy with the delegation's visit, but that it would not dissuade the group from supporting Taiwan. With Taiwan producing 90% of the world's high-end semiconductor products, it is a country of global significance, consequence, and impact, and therefore it should be understood that the security of Taiwan has a global impact. So imagine everything from cars to computers essentially skyrocketing because one country and one country alone basically controls the power over these, or controls the island. Xi would really have a huge kind of advantage over everybody if they ran that island and ran that conductor chip factory. And then we have Xi war with U.S. on the horizon, chief propagandist says. It says one of China's well-known state media personalities has called for a sea change in the public attitude on conflict with the United States, a prospect he believes is increasingly likely over Taiwan. In a commentary published on Saturday, Xi Zhuan, the former editor of the nationalistic tabloid The Global Times, describes a real sense of crisis in Taiwan, where he says the public is more psychologically prepared for war with China. It says as the situation in the Taiwan Strait deteriorates, we must prepare for a military struggle, Hu wrote, and it says urging Chinese citizens to be, quote, ready to face major challenges and hardships. It says as a result of the hypothetical U.S. clash over the orientation of Taiwan, an independent state with limited recognition, which Beijing claims is part of its territory. One thing I want to point out from early this morning, I woke up really early before my kids got up, and I woke up from a dream that I was at Walmart. I mean, I want to think it was Walmart or IKEA. It was somewhere with blue everywhere, or Best Buy. I couldn't remember what store it was, but I remember my wife and I were in the store, and then I remember being outside and she was still inside, and we were like talking to this guy, asking him how much something was. I was outside and I'm in the car in the driver's seat, and I'm basically, for some reason, across the street. Like I pulled across the street to go to the gas station or something. And then I remember looking up, and a little white plane, a white little, looked like a jet, but it was painted all white, flew so low, it was like I was in between two buildings, that I thought that there was going to be a sonic boom. And I was like crouching, and I remember basically crouching thinking, where's the sonic boom? And there wasn't one. And then all of a sudden, about like 30 seconds later, I see just this big nuke go off in the distance. And it's like, if you look down a really long road, it was miles and miles and miles. It was like, 30 miles away. But I was thinking in my head, I was like, please let this be a dream. And all of a sudden I realized I was hoping I was dreaming. And I said, please don't let this be real. And after it happened, I remember in my dream thinking, oh my gosh, this is real. And then thinking, where the heck is my wife? And then she came running out like she was taking a left as a car, but she was running. And I remember thinking, there's no time. Like, the thing is going to hit us, and she's gone right in front of me. And then I woke up. What's really freaky, though, is the news that came out today. So I had that dream last night, which I know most people don't care about dreams, but I had that dream. And then all of this other stuff came out over the weekend, and stuff I didn't even know about. And I just thought it was so freaky. Speaking of which, Zelensky warns of Russian nuclear attack, urging Ukrainians to buy anti-radiation pills. Now, remember, we've been weeks after this, and we've talked about this several times over the last 3 years, really. But specifically, since the beginning of this, we've talked about the whole iodine pills and everything else, and how a lot of people are grabbing them, and now they're running out of supply. So I wanted to point out, actually, a comment. Irish Rebel, thank you for your support, says, watched one of your videos from 3 years ago. It's amazing how spot on you are with which way the world is going right now. Well done, Adam. Irish, I appreciate that, and thank you. Again, I don't think that we have a crystal ball. It's the majority of the people being in military and all the little pieces of the puzzle we get. I think it's pretty easy for most people to see where this is going. It is being set up right now for a tactical nuke to be used, whether it is, whether it's by this person or that person or any person, we don't know that. But again, it's being set up in all of our minds to prepare for it, right? And the messenger is somebody who everybody loves. It says that Vladimir Zelensky has urged his country to be ready for worst-case scenario, warning that Vlad's potential use of nuclear weapons in the future cannot be ruled out. It says that Vladimir has warned UKRs to prepare for a possible nuclear attack and stock up on radiation pills. So imagine, President B saying, hey, prepare for this and go out and get yourself some iodine pills. That's freaking terrifying for the people that are still there, which most of them probably don't know any better and believe everything they see. They're probably freaking out right now. It says Zielinski made the grim warning in an interview before sharing the clip on his Telegram channel on Saturday evening. Crazy that he even has a Telegram, right? It says on Friday, he made a similar announcement and said nuclear weapons could not be ruled out with Vladimir Putin, and consider the move as Vlad's conflict with UKR stalls. It says that Vlad ramped up his offensive after sinking the Moska on Thursday and attacked 8 towns, including the Kharkiv, and Lviv. Now, when you only know part of this, it's a little bit different. But again, now official mouthpieces of Vlad and, of course, their propagandists are saying that they need to get revenge. That is almost, in part, basically admitting that this was sunk by UKR. So remember, question everything and ask questions that no one else is asking. Rigged Sports says, what's good, Marf and Foogle family? I am not sure if you covered it, but check out the 2045 initiative. I'm pretty sure we have. In fact, if you type it in, but is the 2045 a different thing? I know that they've changed a few of those around. Did it have a previous name? I know that the certain agendas. They changed the number and the years, but the initiative, I don't know if we have covered that. And then check out the new video about Fox at the White House. Joseph Newhouse, I will as well. Thank you. And then Survival Living. Thank you so much for the support early on in the show, probably before we even started. And then Texas Rob 49. Thank you for supporting last show. Kelly Joe, Natasha French, Undead Goddess. I believe I missed you. And then I did miss Kelly 2334 on the last show, I believe. So I wanted to go back over that. And thank you so much, Kelly. You'll get a spot on tonight's show as well. Thank you. And Dex, as far as the whole tactical nuke thing, what do you think about it? I know that you're less worried about it, right?
Well, no, I mean, I think it's always been a risk, and I think it's probably more so a risk when we see challenges on the Bears side of the fence, right? And seeing that ship getting sunk, seeing the massive retaliation that came back after, and you know, like, what's next? That's the question. And are they going to escalate up, or are they just going to go home? And I don't think there's no indication that they're just going to pack up, go home, and say we're done. So where does he go from here? And does he escalate? And what is escalate? What does escalation look like? And where does, you know, tactical nukes fit into that?
Yeah, where do they fit? And by tactical smaller nukes, those are something that can be used and not destroy a whole city, but smaller areas. So we don't know. We have yet to see them used like they say that they will, right? What do you think about anything nuclear? Do you have an opinion? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking in your heads. And then thank you for everybody that has piled into DLive. Jammer, thank you for gifting out a badge to Recalcitrant. Queen BTP, Yobi, Sugar Punch 13, Bug Nana, and Vicky K. Thank you, and thank you. Says, hi all, stay frosty. Yobi, I appreciate that. And then thank you everybody else that popped in there. And before we move on to the Moskva, I highly recommend, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. You can actually get iodine pills through them if you do want to stock up on that. You can also get 3-month supplies of food at a discount right now at $150 off. Dex, do you want to talk about this? There's actually
this is actually really good tasting. I can tell you because I've eaten it. I have some. And my family, we all sat around and tried it to make sure we would enjoy eating the food. It's really good. But it's long-term storage food. So they've got specials, they've got sales specifically around the 3-month supply, which is the most popular. But in addition to food, definitely go check out the water filtration systems. That's something we all need, whether it's, you know, pitcher style or straw style, or the large canisters that you've seen and probably heard lots of people talk about, many different brands. They have the Alexa Pure there, which I actually own. It works really well. It's a gravity fed water filtration system. And I know a lot of you have probably seen things about the waters, and it's really fun to watch the water go down in this gravity fed filter and know that you're getting really fresh, clean, you know, purified water on the other end. And those filters last a long time. You can pump a lot of gallons through them. So if you don't have one of those, you definitely want to be looking into it. In my opinion, it should be one of the most important things in addition to food. So, but head over to marfooglenews.com/prep. As Adam said, there are plenty of other things there. They've got a lot of survival products, a lot of, they got books and seeds. In addition to food, in addition to water, they even have air purification systems and lots of other tools and gadgets that you just might not have thought of. So go take a look. Head over to marfooglenews.com/prep. PREP.
And by the way, Dex, you forgot to mention, like I said many times, that they already had to remove one of the smaller discounts. This was not going to last forever. The deals end in 10 hours. So after that, as we have said, they did not raise their prices once through a ton of really bad things that hit the economy. They tried to keep their prices low, And, of course, what they cut out first was their discounts. So now the $150 off on the 3 months, I believe, is getting cut out in 10 hours. So, again, if you have not gone over there and checked it out, that is the one thing. I don't see them raising their prices at the same time as doing this. But, again, if you know what's happening with food, the demand has skyrocketed. And if you've watched people like Canadian Prepper, the one thing that he has a strength on is he is one of these suppliers. He's got his thing going, right? And from the suppliers that are giving it to these companies, this is a huge company. The suppliers that are supplying the food, they are having problems actually producing it. The freeze-dried food that sucks all the moisture out, that food is now in a shortage. So it's only going to get worse. So don't wait until it's, almost unattainable. One, the price is going to go skyrocket high if it does happen. And then, of course, two, it's going to be much harder to attain. So anyways, I thought we would mention that. I kind of predicted this, and the 3-month $150 off is going away. So 10 hours left on that. All right, and then Zielinski says the whole world should be worried about Vlad using a tactical nuke. So, Dex, do you want to talk about how this is a little bit different than the last one?
Yeah, Adam. So he, in addition to the message that he put out to the people and telling them to be prepared for, and getting their pills and things like that, he is turning this message around to the rest of the world, right? And he's saying, like, everyone else needs to be aware of this, and it does matter, at least in the sense that if it does happen, I mean, like, when was the last time this ever happened? It wasn't, it was Japan. So, and those weren't tactical; those were huge, right? So, or at least at that time. But if we get to a point where a tactical is actually used in a conflict in this world, that probably changes the paradigm completely. As far as, do other people now feel like they can do that if they so choose, or is anybody going to retaliate? And then does that cause a cross retaliation? And what's going to escalate from there, right? Does one turn into 300 or 3,000, or does one just set a precedence that says, okay, well, one person did one, so someone else can do one, right? And it's really an interesting, shift in the peace, so to speak, of the world when something like this happens, and if it does happen. So I think that's why it's really important, I guess, for everybody to pay attention and see, what will happen here and how everyone will react. And it's not like you and me reacting, but how the other countries are going to react.
Yeah, as far as the tactical nuke aspect, I know that there are those that doubt. I would say, what are your questions about this? I guess, especially if you think that they may do some crazy event to move things along, then I would highly ask you just to keep your mind open on what's going on right here, especially asking lots of questions. Zielinski asked President B to designate Vlad as state sponsor of terrorism. That's, of course, it says that UKR President Zielinski speaks during a joint news briefing with Polish President Andrzej Duda, Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda, Latvian President Egils Levits, and Estonian President Alar Karis. And it says that as attack on UKR continues, or the supposed attack, right? UKR president recently made a direct appeal to the U.S. President JB for the United States to designate the bear as a state sponsor of terrorism. It says that President B did not commit to specific actions during that call, the newspaper reported. So he's asking them to essentially say that Vlad is Al-Qaeda. And then this is probably, if you are easily kind of freaked out, then this is definitely one of the things that you probably shouldn't watch. Of course, Vlad State TV declares WW3 has started after the sinking of Moscow. Now, remember that a lot of the media that goes out in bear country, most of the time it can't go out if it just says anything. Not to mention any kind of fake news. They just passed a law of some sort that basically says that fake news, anybody who puts out fake news will be prosecuted. So keep that in mind. So most of the stuff that's being put out through any kind of mouthpiece is approved by the president. And some of it is even done purposely by the president and the administration there, or regime, whatever you want to call it, to put out propaganda. When you watch the clip, which is attached on marfooglenews.com, I don't know, do you think we could play it? I wonder, because it is a foreign clip there. But basically, it is a woman saying that she believes after the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet was taken out, that we need a strong response, and that this is definitely escalated into what we can only call WW3. Again, those were some of her quotes there. And it says, now we're definitely fighting against NATO infrastructure, if not NATO itself. We need to recognize that. And then says, the rest of it basically says that this is only can be considered to be WW3. Now, let me see if we can... I don't know.
And Adam, while you're looking at the rest of that, the other thing that we have to take into consideration is if you look at some of the losses, if you want to call it that, whether it's the ship or a massive number of tanks or other things that have happened to the Bear Country, they didn't expect that, right? Or in theory, they didn't roll in saying, "Oh, this is going to be difficult." They rolled in thinking this is going to be easy. And even our leaders said, yeah, they should roll in and be done in a few days, right? But they weren't. And it wasn't necessarily, I think this is where it's getting more into the third conflict, so to speak, is it's not just about the Bear and UKR. It's that UKR is getting all this technology from the rest of the NATO countries. And while we joke and say, oh, they're sending over the old stuff, they're obviously sending over stuff that's significant. And for example, the sinking of the ship was presumably, and I'm sure that's what they're feeling and thinking and through their own research, is that it was done with technology that probably came from, NATO or the US, so to speak, right? That it wasn't just the standard, operations of the UKR military there. They probably were leveraging technology that we gave them that was able to take that ship down, right? So that's why they're saying, look, this is getting serious. This is no longer our occupation or our task that we were doing in the UKR. It's now we're really in a proxy conflict, and that conflict is significant because it's two major powers, and that's going to turn into the third conflict. That's how I'm interpreting this.
What she says,
it is totally an interpretation.
What she says is that, the quote is that we're dealing with NATO infrastructure. NATO has set up basically they've just replaced who's running the machinery. That if they are, even it very well could be. We've suggested this prior that NATO and the U.S. and all of these countries actually have people in UKR running them. That there is a lot of military group members have said that there are U.S. boots in the ground in UKR, which they won't say publicly. Now, that's claims by military group members here saying that there are boots on the ground. But the whole thing is if boots on the ground gets out in any way, fashion, and it's proved, that's a really big deal. That's WW3. That's our people fighting their people. Even one guy, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. And more interestingly enough, we're starting to hear it in our top politicians. And I heard a little bit about this on Tucker tonight and others, that they're talking more on the U.S. side about boots on the ground and why don't we, and what can we do, and should we put boots on the ground, right? So we've gone from no, there will never be boots on the ground to no, there's not boots on the ground, but we think there's some people over there doing some stuff, to now we're saying maybe we should put the boots on the ground. And that's a progression that is potentially a logical progression. You wouldn't have sat back and said, well, that'll never happen, right? Because logically you think it would happen if this thing continues to go on. And that's what things don't just, they're not light switches. You don't just turn them off and everybody goes home. So, Well, time will tell, but I would not be surprised if even if we don't take the step and take this to the next level and put boots on the ground publicly.
And that's where it all comes into where Xi and everything else this all starts speeding up. I feel like this is going to be like a rolling stone, and it's going to gather momentum. There are folks out there that believe that that Vlad is in on it, and all of these people are in on it. You might be right. I'm keeping my mind as open as possible. But at the very time, and that's because he has been part of some of the same groups as some of these other leaders, young leaders. So as far as if he is, maybe he's getting kicked out. I really feel like my gut is telling me he's being kicked out of the Cool Kids Club. Like he's the goat, not the goat. Well, I mean, they used goats, if you know what I mean. Like they would use several animals, and then they would not have those animals live anymore, and then sacrifice them, if you know what I mean. But who knows? Again, I don't claim to know everything, but if you look at the patterns, if you look at what we've looked at before, we're looking at the same patterns we looked at to predict that they were going to have CV. CV was very predictable. There was tons of information being put out. There was tons of weird exercises that we pointed out, and we're like, why are they doing this? Why are they spending millions of dollars on those things before this happened? Just months before this happened, they spent a ton of money on basically what they could have filled in the blank and changed those to anything. And then remember the smallpox. That is something that they all of a sudden, it was small, right? Dex, smallpox was eradicated in 1980, right? That's the one that was eradicated?
Yes.
Yeah. And then, so why are they spending nearly, $2 billion or whatever the amount was on the gibbers for that? All of a sudden, in a 2-year contract and this huge contract of money on something that was eradicated in the 80s. Let's see here. Just to show you the ship, there are some of you that do not watch traditional legacy media. This is some photos here of supposedly what happened here. And remember, of course, Vlad said that this was done because of a fire. But now, if it happened and it wasn't done by someone else, then why are there official kind of news stations calling for revenge? You don't revenge an accident. You don't get revenge back on something that was not done on purpose or done by somebody else. And then the moment Putin's nuclear bomber flies close to UKR border in a major conflict escalation. So we hear about this in different places all the time, but as far as when it goes over and close into UKR, at the same time that Zelensky is saying that they may use these, it makes you think maybe there's some stuff going on that maybe we don't know, or that this is going to be a part of the big show. It says this is the chilling moment. One of Vlad's nuclear boomers was caught flying close to the UKR border in a major military escalation. The Tu-160 strategic boomer was seen in the skies over western Russia amid huge pressure on the Kremlin over the sinking of the Moskva flagship in the Black Sea. Videos today caught 4 aircraft, one used to carry nuke bombs over Kaluga region between Moscow and the UKR border. The Defense Ministry in Moscow had not immediately announced the purpose of the mission. Larger Tu-95s have been used a number of times to strike targets in UKR with non-nuclear weapons, notably Kh-55 and Kh-101 air-launched cruise missiles. Latest attacks by Vlad have concentrated on major cities, include Kyiv and Lviv. More footage emerged showing the mission by the Tu-95s on Saturday over Smolensk region, also in western Russia. The super loud Tu-95 is the only propeller-powered strategic boomer still in operational use today, and the plane first flew 70 years ago. One thing I want to know, what do these look like? Oh man, that's freaky. my dream, it was a smaller plane, but in my brain it was like a commercial jet. If you could imagine a commercial jet the size of a jet, like a commercial plane, white, the shape. That's what I saw in my dream, not this, because I saw it from the bottom, but it was a white fuselage, and it was rounded, like it was a round plane, like the fuselage was round. I just wonder.
Could what you have seen in your dream be more of a cruise missile with wings?
There was no sonic boom, and I remember thinking there was no sonic boom.
Well, that can happen when it passes the sound barrier. It doesn't have to have done that where you were. It could have done that 1,000 miles away.
And how would my brain know that, right? If there is some technical reason why it didn't have a sonic boom, because I don't know that. I don't know what actually happens with that. I don't know. It was just so freaky. And I'm not claiming I got a message from God or anything. It was really what do you call those vivid dreams? It was lucid. I was in the moment. I thought, please don't let this real. And then when it went off, I thought it is real. Like I thought I was awake. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not dreaming. This is the end of my life. This is the end of everything. And just see her running towards me, and it's like, then I woke up. But yeah, it was like a little round plane. I remember it looked like a tube with wings. So it looked like a commercial jet, but as small as a regular jet, like a fighter. And it was white. And then we have Vlad warns U.S. against further arming UKR. And then Vlad has sent a formal diplomatic note to the B administration warning the U.S. against further arming UKR. It's painting the picture that basically that they are being so heavily armed that they are actually giving some sort of fight to Vlad. But we don't know what's really going on. Again, this all could be part of a big, big show. But it does say Secretary of State Antony Blinken has previously described the strategy as part of a plan to increase Kiev's leverage at negotiating table in an effort to eventually find a negotiated end to the conflict. The Washington Post first reported the diplomatic note to the U.S. and quoted the Vladin officials as saying the weapons shipments could bring unpredictable consequences. So one thing I guess I would ask most of you is, like, do you think, since they have drawn so many red lines and those red lines have been stomped on, is it your personal thought that they'll just always let those red lines be drawn over? And do you think that they will forever just not respond? Or do you think that's the purpose? Or is that why you think that they are in on it? Because they're not responding.
Well, in this particular case, this was clearly a message sent, and sent in a very stern way, which is why they used that cable or that document. But then they followed up, right? And the next thing that we're going to talk about is exactly what happened right after they did this. So, and this goes back to what we were talking about, the lady who was the propagandist out of the bear country, who was, screaming like, this is all NATO. This is all happening because of everything they're sending in, right?
Exactly. It's NATO infrastructure, it's NATO weapons, it's NATO, equipment, it's NATO missiles, it's all that kind of stuff. Which, if you think about it, every country in NATO has sent them stuff. So you're kind of dealing with, think about it. The man-to-man stuff doesn't even really happen as much as these big artillery and missiles and all of this and airstrikes and all that. And if they have other gear from other countries, then essentially you're fighting those other countries and their gear just placed inside that country with whatever Joe is running it. Before we talk about that, shooting down of a arms shipment, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check this out. Most of you are thinking about a generator and don't know which one to get. I would highly recommend getting a solar generator. One, because it's silent. No one desperate after the power goes out will know you have it. 2, it can go inside. There is no negative downfall. There's no dangerous gases that are emitted, so you can have this inside. And, of course, it is super, super quiet. Right now, it is running all of my gear. Again, this is all running off of 4 solar panels and running all of my gear, including my 2 power bars, full with about 7 plugs each, and my router. So this is, again, something that is an amazing unit, and the coolest part about it is expandable. Usually when you buy a solar generator, it is intact, and it's basically whatever battery comes in it is built in, and that's what you get. Once that battery, if it ever degrades or if you use it for 15 years, almost every battery technology, no matter whatever it is, NiCad, lithium ion, whatever it is, slowly they do lose some of their oomph. This, you can just replace it. Or if you want to connect up to 96 batteries and make an entire wall and go as long as you want, you can do that too. That is the powerful part. This is modular, which means you can plug and play different things on this. There's also a huge line of accessories, like mine came with a chain of chain lights. There's huge, super bright LED lights that plug in and almost take, almost no power. I mean, you're talking about you could run this chain of lights that could light a whole campsite or pretty much a living room. And all of those use almost, I think it's even less than a light bulb, but I'll have to go check on that. But yeah, and there's tons of accessories, and there's ways to charge it faster. Most generators, as far as solar generators, it's basically whatever you are plugged into, that's what you have to charge it by. Or if you do solar, you got to do solar. If you're going to do your car, you got to do your car. If you're going to do the wall, you have to do the wall. This one is so smart that it knows where the power is coming from, whichever source it is, and you can do multiple at the same time. So you can charge it on the wall, solar, and your lighter all at the same time, especially if you have the mods. You can actually add 3 times the amount of solar panels to one unit. So instead of charging it in, however many hours, you can charge it in a third of that time. If you want to go over and check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy. The reason why we know about this and why we were able to get in on one of the most coveted solar generators out there is because they have a direct partnership making EMP shields for these. So they introduced us to this company. Otherwise, this is literally one of the most wanted generators out there. There is a list to get one. So make sure to go over and check it out. It is marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Again, make sure to go over and check them out. All right, and then thank you everybody that has already gotten on that list to get one. And for those of you that have already gotten yours, what do you think? Let us know. All right, and then Dex. So they shot down the arms supply shipment, and that's basically, you would think that would be kind of another escalation since they're shooting down gear from other countries, right?
Yeah, and there's some controversy over whether or not this was had weapons in it or if it had just humanitarian aid, because they originally said it was just an aid shipment, but then it went down, and then they said they found stuff in it, et cetera, et cetera. So again, you have to take this one with a grain of salt. A lot of this is coming from the other side of the line, so to speak, at least as far as the reporting about the type of shipment. But the plane did go down. This did happen. So what we have to sort of understand is when you put the lens of what we saw the ship going down, we saw the intensive booming going on, we saw the reactions, and we saw the cable that they sent saying do not send any more equipment, and then we see this go down. It is all a series of escalations, and it goes back to my point of what are they going to do next, and what are we going to do next? And so I think this isn't the the ending of the ninth inning. I think this is sort of like the ramp up still. And we kind of have to be careful here and pay attention, because just about anything could happen at this point.
Speaking of anything can happen, As far as what is predicted as far as the solar things, and I see everybody's talking about EMPs and CMEs and things like that. I think that a lot of people question, like, which kind of end of the world scenario will it be? And a lot of people are starting to wake up that maybe there may be multiple at the same time. If this is biblical, which there are many different kinds of people here, but if it's biblical, we may see everything at the same time, from an asteroid to nukes to a great volcano going off. And that sounds crazy to think about, right? Well, if you look at everything that's happened and spiritually look at how crazy things are and how everything kind of just everything bad that happens, it's like Murphy's Law is going into overdrive, like it's working overtime right now. Everything is happening that was predicted. And it's very scary to think that, say, all of the sci-fi movies that predicted how the future would be like and how many predictions were made about what would happen. Think about all of the movies about the end of the world coming true, right? And some of these are not as crazy. And we're not talking about the crazy sci-fi ones, but like a black hole sucking the Earth into CERN or something. That one, again, some say theoretically possible, but a lot of people think that that's nuts. But as far as a nuke, that's human involved, angry, jealous, mad, money motivated human being could be behind something like that. That could happen if there's a motivation or an agenda behind it. If there's something that it will prosper. The thing is what we understand that humans are evil in so many different ways, and it depends if they go to the good side or the bad side. But humans can be corrupted. And if humans are involved, all of those kind of end of the world scenarios revolving around humans are possible. As far as things that have happened forever, as far as time goes, like the sun and having huge events, or asteroids. And again, there's arguments if space even exists. Again, I'll see when I'll believe it when I see it as well. I've never been to space, so I can't tell you that. I can't tell somebody who thinks that space doesn't exist. I can't tell them, like, hey, I've seen it with my own eyes, because I haven't. I've looked up. I've seen things through telescopes, high-powered, professional telescopes that I was like, holy crap. When you look through one of those, you go, how have I never seen it like this? Or even been to somewhere that is true dark, like not in the city, then it's hard to deny. But that could be a projector, right? So I get everybody's views on it, and I'm not going to tell you. But as far as what I can see is the world is changing. And the world is rapidly going down the toilet. So let's go down this spiral together, and let's have the best time we possibly can, not be afraid, and really just get, I guess, psychologically ready for anything. And if it does happen, make the best out of it. It's all an attitude. Heaven is a state of mind, is saying, right? Well, you can make your own kind of heaven before you die here. Some of the happiest people in the world are in countries that have absolutely nothing. We are so focused on material items and everything else that we're just worried about, us not being able to access things. Happiest countries in the world don't have computers or cell phones or cars or anything. So we can all work together to just be ready. And if we do have to go back to that, we could make a great time. There's plenty of things you can do without power and everything else. So it's not your worst nightmare. Who knows? It may be your best dream. Imagine if people all gathered and without power, cell phones, all this, and started being humans again. Right now, we're all sucked into our phones, in our devices, our apps, and it's really poisoning the next generation. It's incredible. So I almost kind of miss, I do miss times without cell phones and things. But of course, that's the part of it. It's like most of you are watching me on one. So it's weird how that works. And then, Dex, we have lots of awesome people over on DLive. Arizona Ice Queen says, take your dreams seriously. God said he would give us visions and dreams that are prophetic. Well, I'm not saying it. I'll say my personal belief is I feel like a lot of my dreams have come true, and maybe that's just my personal warning. Maybe that was his warning to me. I think about the fact that I'm on the West Coast, and that if something was to hit from, say, G, it might go over my head, right? I talked to Dex before the show, and I was thinking, how low it was. I was thinking maybe it came in. He says, well, if the plane was low, it wouldn't deliver a nuke like that, because it would need to be up in the air, or it would be a missile, right? But I was just thinking, like, maybe it was going in low to avoid radar. How does radar even pick up if something is the height of a building? Doesn't it look like a car? Like, the radar has to have like a height level, right? Either way, he said it was probably a missile that I saw in that dream, but I felt like it was turning. It was going like this over the building, and then all of a sudden, 30 seconds later, I saw that. But do you have dreams about the end? Let me know in the comments down below. Yes, Movie Marf, 50 miles away from Seattle. Seattle is a strategic stockpile. Well, yeah, and we have Boeing. We have all of these different things here as far as all of these things here that would be strategic targets. Somebody says it sounds like an Elon Musk rocket, but it turned. It has wings that turned. The plane from Lucid Dreaming. Oh, yeah, thank you. I must have seen you. MJ Toe Forever, Extinguish Shiffy, Gene Walkie, Cascadia, Big Ol' Rocks from Outer Space, EMPs, WW3, Earthquake, G, what fun. Yeah, what will happen next? It's kind of like a big prediction mosh pit. All right, and then Dex. Let's talk about the web only. We've got tons of crazy stuff here.
Yes, Adam, we do. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and scroll down to that web-only content. If you're on YouTube, open the description. It's right below there. It says description. Click on it, and you'll see show notes. Click that first link. Lots going on. So there's some updates happening around the border and some new rules that have been put in place allowing more people in. You can find out exactly the details of that. A famous cereal, a cereal that lots of people love, is now being investigated because it's possibly making people sick. So if you want to know which cereal that is, head over to marfooglenews.com and scroll down to the web-only content. You can find out about it. Lots of updates here from the politicians and all the nonsense that goes on both sides with all of them. Three-letter agencies have been involved here recently, and what's happening there. The laptop saga is not going to end anytime soon, so you'll continue to see some updates there along those lines, and plenty more, including some more of the humorous stuff like the bantering that goes on in the press room at the White House. So lots of other updates are there, many more that I didn't even tell you about. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on that thumbnail of the show, and scroll down to that web only content to get the rest of the story. And while you're there, just as a reminder for everybody, if you do go to our website and you are clicking on the thumbnail of the show, when we have call-ins, the callers are at the bottom of the page. If you're looking for any of the affiliates we spoke about tonight, they are also on that page. So either look for the links there at the top or look for them at the bottom below all of the articles. So everything's set up real simply. It's the news we cover in the show, and then you've got web only. And then when we do have callers, that's at the bottom right after the web only content.
And for those of you that asked to see the kitty, my wife brought it here. She poor little kitty, but it's so crazy that as they're kittens, they basically don't know. They don't know that they. She is such a sweetheart. Her name is Evie. Isn't that right, Evie? She's like, I'm not. She's like, I don't care if I'm injured. But yeah, this foot is her growth plate got brokey. But she's like climbing everything. We can't stop her from climbing. She likes sitting in your hood. Oh, babies. She climbs all the way up your leg and sits on your shoulder. Poor gal. And you know what is so funny? They gave her gabapentin. I'm like, hopefully that, works. But gosh, they wouldn't even give the kitty good medication, man. I would hate to have a little broken growth plate and be given gabapentin. Jeez, that shows you how bad it is now. Emergency vets are, I swear to, I don't know if this is like it everywhere, but every one of them around here is a complete gyp. Like they always do extra stuff that, they charge you just up the yin yang. And there's the one that we went to was only open after 6 p.m. It's like, man, if there was ever something, to be shady, that it's like they open their building at night and they do stuff at night, right? I understand the preference, I guess some of them open up because they're using other people's offices and during the day, but this one doesn't have that. They are a full-time thing and they own their own building. So I was like, that's just weird. But yeah, kitten is just absolutely crazy. Some of you guys watched the show where I brought it out the day it was born, and it was literally this big. So everybody, hi, you climbing up again? Oh, baby. But yeah, the babies. We love it, and we were glad that, it wasn't more serious. So for all you cat lovers, this is Evie and one of our Marfoogle kitties. But thank you, everybody. Love you guys, and it is now officially time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. I'm driving above